we're presenting Space Babe.
So as you can see in the corner, this is our Space Babe. When we were doing the tutorials, the little character's name was Dude, so I was like, let's be innovative and make a babe, right? And so the genre of our game is space exploration and adventure. And we have 3 maps, 3 levels. So basically each map adds on planets and makes the game a little bit longer. And the purpose of the game is to collect resources and visit planets on your journey home.
So our initial design concept, we like the idea of a text-based game. We wanted to do space exploration from the start. We all agreed on that. We wanted to do choose your own adventure. Those are fake. We like the idea of it being new every time, you having choices. We wanted to implement resources, money, and fuel. We, like Angelica said, it was important to us to have a female protagonist. There are a few. Originally we thought she was going to be lost in space and trying to get back home, but we changed that up. We ended up simplifying the game structure to start at home and then explore and collect more resources. And by we I mean Austin, worked for a while to get our code right for specifically the randomization and the map sizes. That was all him. And we realized some limiting factors over the course of the semester so far, mostly time. Time's a limiting factor. And we are still working on organizing our code. For the aesthetic, we liked art that was pixelated, kind of arcade inspired. We wanted emphasis on the text and the storyline, but also colorful planet art, fictional planets. There's a couple of our influences. The feelings from the game, from the environment in general, we want it to feel open, kind of scattered. From the exploration, we want you to feel kind of stimulated, excited, maybe some anxiety from running out of fuel. And then we were all in band, and we picked the planets by Gustav Holst. Anyone?
So we wanted our game to be fairly accessible, and because of that, we made our controls really simple. So for moving the ship around the map, you just use forward and backward arrow keys, up and down keys, and then to rotate your ship, you use left and right arrow keys. And if you're controlling the player in one of the mini games, you also use the arrow key controls for walking and jumping, because there is gravity on some of the mini games. And you visit planets by pressing spacebar when hovering over them on the map, and that's how you initiate the mini games. And this is just this little screen cap of the tutorial that we have at the beginning.
So our core dynamics, the goal of the game is that your planet is initially very polluted and low on resources, so you're trying to travel around the map, collect resources in order to replenish your planet and make it better. So you're visiting different planets as you try to manage your fuel, so you have to decide, do I want to visit a planet that's further away and potentially get more resources, or do I want to be safe and go back to my home planet with the amount of fuel I have in order to make sure I get the resources to them? So one of the main factors is our map. It's kind of a hub system where you're traveling around this giant hub, traveling to different planets on your on the map, and it's designed like a grid system. So it's like a 3x3 or 4x4 grid with each square representing a planet. So once you visit a planet, you would visit that one when you click the space bar. And one thing we're very proud about is it's randomly generated. So every time you play through the game, the arrangement of the planets is random, so that there's a lot of variety whenever you're playing through it. So variety is also added by our minigame. So each minigame is unique and has different gameplay factors. So we've got examples of space combat, platformers, a few minigames where you're having to repair your ship. And for our space combat games, the way it works is that you're controlling your ship and trying to avoid hazards as you try to reach the end. And if you reach the end, you'll be given a certain amount of resources, but if you fail, then you might lose some fuel. So for example, we've got a minefield minigame where you're traveling through a minefield, and we've also got a turret minigame where you're trying to avoid the little laser beam shot out by a turret.
And then we also have a platformer minigame, and in this instance, you can actually control the player. And the purpose would be to collect tools before the time runs out. And it's fairly simple, and these are the places where we implement gravity.
We've got a ship repair minigame. Basically, your ship's going to break down, and you have to get out, open it up, and then use a number of tools to fix it.
So what's going well? So one of the things that we're very proud about, like I mentioned, is its replayability. So the variety of mini games and the fact that each time you go through the map, it's going to be random is a really cool factor, we thought. And the variety is added to, like I said, by the mini games, and we're planning on adding more mini games given the amount of time we have. And our team has a lot of freedom because of this, so rather than everyone working on the same thing and potentially getting tangled, everyone is working on their own mini game that they have control over, and then we're implementing them all together at the end. So this also means we have a lot of different features we want to add depending on how much time we have, but this also leads into what could have gone better is that we have to prioritize certain features. So even if a feature is like super cool, if it's not practical and it'll take a lot of time, then we're gonna have to drop it. And like everyone else mentioned, we've had some close deadlines, just making sure we're on top of things and aren't running things towards the very end of the week, and doing everything then is important. And also initially we just had our base idea where we're traveling around the map, and while we had a lot of cool mini games, we didn't have a reason to play the mini games. Like we didn't have our home planning system. So if there's not a reason to play the game, then there's not much point to going through it. So we didn't implement that until much later than we would have liked. So lessons learned, like I said, we need to plan it up. You need to plan out your game design from the start and make sure you have everything planned out, like the story and the gameplay, and that everything links together. Otherwise, you're gonna have to go back and change a bunch of code. Playtesting gives a lot of perspective because we might get a little bit stagnant about ideas towards the game because we're working on it all the time, and other people give us like more ideas about what can change, what can be different in order to make it a better game. And these last two, communication and teamwork, are very important because if everyone's not clear about what they expect and what they want to do with the game, then it's not going to work well. But if everyone's working well together and working as a team, then everything kind of collides together into a really cool project. So, any questions?
Thanks, guys. It's been great.